Good day to you. It's your old buddy, Grandpaw Koyote, coming to you again here from Crestone, Colorado, and babies. It's been a rockin' week. I know I was supposed to do chapter 13 and so forth this week, and I didn't get anything done. Lucky to even, be thinking and living and breathing this week. It's been intense. And you can't see it right now, but I'm sitting here with my hands on my crystal ball. And, babies, we're doing some communicating with the spirits in the great beyond. You know what I mean? So anyway, it's been a real intense week. I don't know about you, but I've been processing an awful lot. I've spent a good share of my time doing this processing, which means you go into a meditative state. You examine the active energies inside of yourself that you've accumulated or which come up throughout your busy little day. And then you wash them away. Another way of describing it is there'd been like a clock spring wound tight inside of us, and now it's unwinding. And it ain't doing it at no tick-tock, tick-tock. It's going going extremely fast now. In trucking terms, we're going from 12th to 13th gear. It's the hitting a tall hole now means we're going to go cruising on down the road. We're going from 85 to 95, maybe 100 if we feel nervy enough, A lot can happen when you're trucking along at 100 miles an hour. Now, up in Montana and out in Nevada, it used to be legal to do so back in the 60s and the 70s. It wasn't until the 55-mile-an-hour speed limit and all that crap that all that changed. So 100 miles an hour was not unreasonable in a truck out in the wide open spaces where there wasn't anything to really hurt. Except maybe yourself if something went wrong, because that's a very precarious speed to be taking 80,000 pounds of roaring freight, steel and plastic hauling butt down the highway. Let me tell you, lose one little lug nut and your day is over, and maybe your life. So you really have to be aware, on your toes, and in the conscious presence of angels to do such things. Well, babies, that's it in a metaphorical sense. In the reality of truth, those of us that are sensitive these days are traveling, and we're hitting that high gear. And it's difficult. I hope you all out there that still live by the earth dynamic will forgive us. But it's difficult to keep our feet on the ground and pay much attention to the earth reality. Now, I know that's required, and so I'm working on myself, trying to get back here on the ground, get this little donut business going. I mean, I quit trucking a month ago, and it's not that I wouldn't drive local or whatever, but I quit trucking. I'm done. I had too much else to do, and the universe assured me it would provide, and yeah, it has, but not in the way of financial sustenance just yet. But, I got an offer of a little help for the donut business, so maybe we can get this thing rocking. And, Grandpa, you just sometimes you got to do it, and I know a lot of you are going through equally radical changes. That your whole life is changing, turning around. You're uprooting yourself and moving back to wherever or going forward to wherever, but inside, you can hardly, there's so much excitement. There is so much of a lighter feeling, and you're used to feeling dense. And so sometimes you actually get wobbly and dizzy in this world. It's hard to maintain here. But it's not so difficult we can't do it. And it just means just keep one foot on the ground, let the other one fly, let it float. And pretty soon you get both of them off, and it don't matter. I'm sorry, folks. But this substance, this earth reality of substance that lives on a dream, fed by an illusion we call money, this is the very paradigm we're changing. And there are those of us that are in high gear now. I hope to include myself in that. It sure feels like it. We'll just wait and see. But even if it ain't me, it's you. And then it's me too. So it doesn't matter. Those of us that are sensitive are going forward now. We're opening the gates. It's have, love, will travel time. Now, I don't know how many of you can relate to that slogan. It's a paraphrase from an old TV show called Paladin. Richard Boone played Paladin. And on his little business card it says, have gun, will travel. He was a professional gunfighter that got called into trouble spots and quite often wound up being the mystical authority of death. In a 1950s, 1960s sense. It was an old black and white movie on TV, a half hour every, I forget what night it was, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, somewhere in there, Wednesday, who knows, but it was there. So anyway, it's a paraphrase on that. Have, love, will travel. And that's just, we're the new age gunfighters. The gunfighters of the new age. But we don't have weapons. All we have is these hands. The grandpaws, you know. P-A-W-S. And we can use these to set each other free. The touch of a hand is the touch of a heart. And we need to do more of this touching. And I'm not speaking in an erotic sense, smart ass. Don't do it that way. That comes later. Right now, it's just getting back to the personal form of communication that humanity knows in itself once existed. We remember this in our cellular structure, in our genetics, in our mental tissue, in our heart tissue. The tissue of our heart remembers all of it. And we've been ground down by the pranks they play in this reality and the control exercised over us. We've allowed it. Don't belittle yourself for falling flat on your face or being a controlled zombie. There's nothing wrong with doing it. I mean, it takes an amazingly, stunningly, sterling soul to get through a zombie experience. Believe me. Been there, done that. We all have. You know, many times over for some of us. Getting the truth takes many, many lifetimes. You don't just step into it. Once you've given it a toss, and you've gone to live in the lie, which is what we did when we moved into this form of humanity, from the second to the third dispensation, from the Lemurian to the Atlantean era, basically. We're talking some eons, basically. Hang on. Well, here we're back again. I was a friend came by to visit for a few minutes, so I hope you pardon the interruption. I'm just gonna put a nice little dissolve in there and a redissolve, you know what, an undissolve. So you just go right through it. I don't want you to have to hear Angel barking too loud. She's my little guardian sitting here right beside me. Keeps me company all the time. So we've been like this clock spring unwinding inside, which means we're releasing a lot of what we've held on to for what seems like an eternity now. And I'm speaking of those of us that are sensitive, that feel and know what it feels like to live. L-I-V-E, all in capital letters. Live. Which some people think is evil spelled backwards. But that's only because they misperceive life. But as we're doing this, we're shifting. We're going with the flow. I want you all to hang on. To keep it moving inside of yourself and not sit still. Do like I've been doing whatever it takes to give yourself the time, the energy, and the space to process this. And it will work out for you. The worldly side of yourself is going to scream, it's disaster, it's the end, you're done if you do this. But the heart says, follow me. I'm your love, and I need to express and experience myself once again inside of you, my friend, my person that I am, that you is, that we are together. We're spreading our wings, and they've been folded up, furled up, and invisible for a long time. So it takes a little shaking and flexing and letting it out. We're about to fly free of this reality, of this earth dynamic, this earth paradigm. And all we got to do is hang in there for a little bit longer. That's it. Well, and let it happen. Stay out of the way. Don't let your worrisome side get in the way. Just know what it is that nature has called you here to be, to do. Have love, will travel. You're a gunfighter for the spirit heart. But you're not out to wipe anybody away. Just to help them change. So they won't be gunfighters anymore, and there won't be wars. Not between men and women, kids and parents, nations and tribes, planets, whatever. It just won't happen again. Because once we return to the dynamic of the second dispensation of humanity, which, remember, was quite enlightened, that is our natural state of being. We've allowed ourselves to go here into this darkness, this incredibly creepy, deepy darkness, suffered through many tragedies and many triumphs in those tragedies, so the suffering was rewarded rather immediately. Not everything in this life is what it appears to be, in fact, hardly any of it. And you're going to see some of the most evil beings become some of the most respected. Do a complete turnaround and start to hand out what they've taken away, and then some. Because this is the only way they can feel they can redeem themselves from the error of their ways. Even though there's no fault or blame to be had here. No one's guilty. And if one is, everybody is. We've all done it in one way or another. We have screwed up, and screwed up royally. If not in this lifetime, many times over, in other lifetimes. We've been there, done that, believe me. Especially you of the crew, what I call the crew. I'm part of the crew too, baby, you bet. It's a family. It's a heart. It's an experience. A spiritual collective that is just now bringing itself together. And you may well be a part. Well, look at that. We're all one, so I reckon that you are. 'Cause I is. Angel is. Little wonder dog. We all are. Let yourself experience some freedom in this life. Let go of whatever is holding you back. But you have to see it to let go of it. Go inside yourself then. See what it is that restricts you. And if you can't give it a word, an experience, a definition, it doesn't have to be. You see the energy of it. Just let it keep unwinding from your heart, babies. Don't stand in the way, in other words. That's all we, quote, quote, gotta do. We don't gotta do nothing. 'cause it'll happen in spite of ourselves. 'Cause the collective made this choice way back in April 22 of 1994, to give it a date, and it don't matter. You don't have to believe that. It's just a story. A truthful one, yes, but it's a story. But that was when the tide turned completely in our direction. Before that, anything goes. Anything could have happened. After that, the paradigm of darkness had agreed in advance to submit to the change should certain circumstances occur. I mean, to put it in a contractual earthly sense. In a mystical sense, it's when the tide was turned. It's when the 100th heart of humanity began to awaken, began to accept itself as a living being, and didn't look at itself so critically any longer. Stepped up a stage or two in consciousness. It took 100 of these hearts in unison doing that. So they did. The collective required it. We think we're so personal, so individual, so me. We've been taught this. It's a screwy perception and perspective, you know. It's warped because we're individual souls that are part of a giant collective called life. And we have our tribal identities. You know, we work in spiritual groups, energy groups. So there's those that are drawn to and from us, that we're drawn to, that often have lessons to teach us, but those also that are our spirit family, those that are close to our heart, that vibrate at the same level, basically. It's all contributes. There's all these levels so that there can be harmony, so that truth can experience itself in every dynamic, from the deepest of bass tones to the highest of the essential harmonies of the universe. We're a living work of truth, of honesty, of justice in the American way. Oh man, forgive me for the pun, people, but you know, we really are the most blessed beings in the entire universe, and also the most watched right now. You look into the night skies on any given night, you're going to see some moving around. You're going to feel some feelings coming to you right from the sky. You look at the sun in the daytime, and you begin to experience truth. It flows right through you. Sunshine is real important. Get as much of you as you can. I know, like around here, it's already winter. I mean, we haven't got snow on the ground yet, but man, it's getting down to 9-10 degrees at night. It's cold, babies, you know. So maybe in the afternoons, those days when it isn't too windy and chilly, you can get out there in the sun. But just get as much as you can. Give yourself exposure, especially to the morning sun. I tell you that the other morning I was gazing into the sun momentarily, and I see right in the center of it the blue gold heart that's the center of all. Now that tells you something, babies. The sun is very important to you. And that might be the reason why some of these dark dudes, dark beings, are trying to block it out, block its effects with all the contrails and chemtrails and shit, and all the industrial pollution they've caused by industrializing nations that weren't industrialized and just spewing it out. You know, there's some cleverness and craftiness going on, some sly dogs in the background still playing their little games right to the bitter finish, but it won't do them much good. You might as well open, experience the essential truth for them, and set them free so they don't have to go through the paradigm of dramatic bullshit, you know. Why make anybody suffer? Why not just be free? Because if you can be, then everybody else can be too. So hang on. Love yourself. Which means respect yourself and every energy and entity you see inside of yourself. And all that comes from yourself. You may not be proud of it at times. It may embarrass you at times. Respect it. It may hurt you at times. Respect it. What others say may cut you to the bone. Respect it. Respect every element in yourself. When you see them, let your heart unfurl like a flag in the breeze, and let the gentle nature of this breeze flow away all the darkness from inside of yourself. Everything you've held against yourself, every essential untruth you've ever accepted into yourself, every horrible experience you've ever been through in any lifetime, it lives in you now. But it's letting go. And you just stand by and lovingly release it through this respect. It doesn't get any better than this, but it gets better because we can do this. We have the complete capability. We've been so lied to, so made to feel powerless, so made to think we have to fight one another. We'll never agree. Men are from Mars and women are from Venus. And there's not a man alive that can think beyond his penis. Oh, God. You know, if we accept that as our essential paradigm, then it's true. But if we can release that one, let it go, we've ended all war. And we've found essential peace and truth in ourselves. Because we found equity between the genders. What do you think the deepest craving is inside of any being that lives here on earth? To return home to its mother's heart. To be in that state of love constantly, not realizing that it already is. Oh, and there's been some misconceptions going around this little town of Crestone, Colorado. I got to straighten out while we're right here now. It seems that I told a little story a while back about making love with your mother. About an experience I had one time when I was going through some really growing stages, very similar to what we're going through now. It was back in the early 90s. I was about 40-something. And going through this dire illness. I think I've told you a little about it. But I was on top of a mountain where I used to go commune with all those beings, as I told you. These essential beings of purity and truth and light were coming there and educating me in this intrinsic way. We were sharing energy and love and intelligence. It's where I accumulated, woke up a lot of it inside of myself. Inside of myself are the essential keys to the universe, the same as they are in you. And this was a part of the process of awakening to it. Began like way back there in the 90s. Began even before that. It goes way back. But this one day, back there in the early 90s, as I'm going through an amazing process of resurrecting my soul from the land of the dead and returning it back to the land of the living. Fun little trick. It's what we're all doing now. Again, I'm on top of a mountain and I'm communing with the sun, nature, God, the experience of the moments of truth, you know, and it's just rattling through me. And then it gets kind of quiet and peaceful, and I start to pleasantly drift off. I'm laying on a blanket in the sun. And this voice comes to me pretty much out of nowhere. I mean, I knew who it was, what it was, one of my angel guardians. And it says, Peter, make love with your mother. I look at him and you guys are nuts. And it kind of baffled me. I didn't quite understand what they were saying. And the voice came to me again. Peter, make love with your mother. Help her feel complete. She's not complete in you. I looked at him and I felt all this love. And I began to understand what they were saying. And in a physical sense, I rolled over and made love with the essential Mother Earth. Physically, mystically, spiritually. It was a rebonding, a union. Kind of a graduation that is still just settling and sinking in now. It was a very special and spectacular moment. Very pure in my heart. It's from that moment, that we spring forward into these moments of now where the essential truth can be known far and wide and lies can no longer be spread or lived in. It's the return of the spirit heart, the essential gathering of mother and son, S-U-N, as in the sky, the bright star of earth. The universe sees us as undivided. And now we ourselves, the children of the earth, are coming to see it in that way too. Another way of describing it. So you see, that moment was pure. And it wasn't incest with my earthly mother, for heck's sakes. God, people like to talk sometimes, and they get things off a little bit. But that's okay. Because the essential energy of the story is pure, and so there's no harm done by any misunderstanding. It all comes full circle, and it's fine. But see, be willing to share your experience this way. Be willing to open and share the essential truth. Because most all of you have it hidden away. And those that talk openly about it, for the most part, are still processing it. And some haven't even been there yet. They're just hoping for it. And if they keep talking about it, it might happen for them too. And I'm not here to fault that kind of thing, that kind of thinking, that attitude. Everybody has their path. And however way we get to it is blessed beyond measure. Each human being, as I keep telling you again and again, is a saint. Each of us is endowed by the creative heart with gifts and abilities that allow us to get through some of the most horrible experiences ever created in any dynamic anywhere, let alone some of the most blissful. We've stretched it thin, made the life almost go away, and now it returns as if by magic, playing with the old crystal ball, sharing the energy of love with all that is and all that ever will be. There's a truth here. A special, essential, pure truth. The gathering of the mother's love with the heart of the son. S-U-N. And all that is. As we do this for her, through her, with her, we become a part of her once again and no longer feel separate from anything. Think about that for a while now, kiddos. Life rocks. Yep. Have love, will travel, babies. rock and roll. It's in your soul and your heart. Bless you. Bless you for every bit of it. And for what's coming now, babies. We got the power to set ourselves free.